Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and today I am driving a 1967 Jeepster Commando. Up front is a 2.2 liter inline 4, and down below is a 3-speed manual transmission. Now I'm super excited to be driving this Jeepster for many reasons, mainly the fact that I've never really seen one of these, and it's just such a cool piece of automotive history that might get lost to time if we don't keep talking about it. The second reason is the fact that I always enjoy driving old cars, although I might be putting my foot in my mouth here today because this is a handful to drive. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 2.2 liter inline 4 under the hood. Well, that is better known as the Hurricane Inline 4. And 1967 was the first model year of the Jeepster Commando, at least in this format, known as the C101. And so for the earlier models, they used this 4-cylinder. They later updated it to a 6-cylinder, a 3.7 liter V6. But this engine is really special because it was actually a updated version of the original Willys Go Devil engine, which was the World War II Jeep engine, famously known for being incredibly reliable and, of course, winning us the war. So in the 1960s, Kaiser, who built this, wanted to bring this Jeep back, this style of Jeep, but they didn't have a whole lot of money, and so they really just pulled old stampings of the Go Devil motor off its shelf, put it into production. Here we go. I have no tachometer. I have no idea what I'm doing. The clutch grabs super high up. That'll do for now. That's all 3 speeds. We are in top gear, baby. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 3-speed manual transmission. Very harsh, very unforgiving. The clutch is super stiff, and the shift pattern is unconventional to what we would normally assume today. Now, I'm pretty used to this shift pattern because it's actually the same shift pattern that's found in my 1931 Ford Model A, but it's left and backwards for first, right and forwards for second, and then right and backwards for third, reverse being where first gear traditionally is. Last but not least, this Jeepster is 4-wheel drive. They all came 4-wheel drive. That was a standard feature for the Jeepster. How does it feel to drive the Jeepster? Well, not great, if I had to use a short phrase. The seating position is awful. The clutch is not only super heavy, but it grabs so high up, and the pedal sits so high up that I basically have to do high knees just to get it into gear. The suspension is, I could only assume, a solid brick or cinder block if it were the premium option. But visibility is good. You know, you're driving something kind of unique, but at the end of the day, it's a very rough and tumble experience. Now, this was designed to compete against the Bronco and the International Scout, so those vehicles also drive like covered wagons with motors, but this is just not very friendly, and I can't say I'm really digging it. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I do have a Jeep gauge cluster. So to the left, we have fuel, in the center is the speedometer, and off to the right is temperature. We have little lights for our oil and amperage. On the steering wheel, we don't get anything except for the Jeep badge, which is this really cool multicolor badge. I wish that Jeep would bring this back, especially with their 85th anniversary this year. And off to the left, we do have our headlight switches, as well as this used to be your washers and climate control. Now, none of this really works anymore, but really cool. And this was very much a 60s and 50s thing where the air conditioning was off to the left and out of reach from the passenger. That later switched into the 70s and 80s. On the door, we have the latch to get in and out and the crank for the window, but that's it. This little grab handle is digging into my hip in such an uncomfortable way. It's not great at all. Moving into the center, we do have a Motorola solid state radio. I do not know if this is the standard original radio for the Jeepster or not, but it is very, very cool and pretty vintage at that. Down below, we have some vents as well as a ashtray. We do have our choke, and of course, no cup holders found here in the Jeepster. On the floor to the far right, we do have our four-wheel drive settings, so it does have a 2-speed transfer case. Again, that was a standard feature here in the Jeepster Commando, which was very, very special. And moving into the center, we have the shifter. It's long, it's big, it's mighty. We do have 2 seats in here, no bench seat, but we do have singular seats. They are relatively comfortable, but the overall cabin inside the Jeepster is not comfortable just because of the size. It's hard to tell on camera because there's no other vehicle around me, but this is a pretty small car, pretty small truck. And so you really feel that in terms of the cabin space, and you will feel that with the bed as well. So let's hop around back and talk about the bed. All right, so we're on the back of the Jeepster Commando, and a couple of things to note. First of all, toolbox not factory, and of course, obviously, the fuel cell is not factory as well. The original gas tank did rust through, and that is just the easier way to get a vehicle running these days. So this right here, which I think is just a really cool story, this fender up until somewhat recent was pretty mint. A barn of which this car was stored in actually collapsed and collapsed onto this rear fender. That's all that happened. That's how strong cars used to be built. We do have latches in here. You pull these big honking latches and the tailgate will come down. There we go. Whew. And there you go. That is the tailgate of a Jeepster Commando. Very, very rudimentary. These big sort of arms that fold down and whatnot. Not a very big bed. Not a very big bed at all, but you know, this is for getting around the farm, and that's all it was really meant to do. You throw a hay bale in back, you find a loose tire out in the field, chuck it in back, bring it back to the house. That's the sort of thing that this truck was really meant to do, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later, but here you go. This is what the rear bed of a 1967 Jeepster Commando looks like. Just, you know, forget about the fuel cell for a second. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this is what originally drew me to this truck for 2 reasons. First of all, I hadn't really seen anything quite like this, and this is a convertible Jeep truck. You can take this top off. It requires lots of different bolts, and the owners haven't taken it off in several decades, so I'm not really gonna try my luck here today. But you can remove the top. It was a convertible pickup, which is very, very cool. The second thing that drew me to this is that this is actually a single body piece as a pickup truck. If you notice along the side, there's no crack for the bed or no separation between the bed and the body, which I always find very, very unique. And it's something you don't really see much of anymore besides in like the Honda Ridgeline or Hyundai Santa Cruz. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a 1967 Jeepster Commando? Well, this is such an absolutely awesome experience. A painful one, an uncomfortable one, sure, but this is so cool because in this era, recreational vehicles were starting to become a thing. And this is of the time where cars could only be really one certain thing. Nowadays, you can buy an SUV and it can be sporty, it can be fun, it can be spacious, it can be comfortable, and be all of these things together. Well, this is just one thing. You take the top off, you drive it around your farm, and that's what you do with it. And so it's almost nice to be driving something that is so singularly focused on one objective. The other thing that's super cool is that this is a piece of Jeep's history. We have the Jeep Gladiators here today, and they're great and good, but Jeep was doing this over 50 years ago, over almost 60 years ago. And that to me is so cool. This was a very transitional period for the Jeep name at the time. This was actually being built by Kaiser. They then migrated in 1970 when they were purchased to AMC. And then AMC built this for a little while and then they canceled the vehicle altogether. So this is a really, really interesting time, and having a World War II engine under the hood just makes this experience so much sweeter at the end of the day. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this look at a Jeepster Commando. Huge thank you to Matt Now for letting me borrow their Jeepster. They run the Wisco Shenanigans YouTube channel, so please go check them out. They will be linked down in the description below. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.